it's Glasgow versus Edinburgh, salt and vinegar versus salt and sauce. And when you bring through a man from Edinburgh to Glasgow, I'm sure sparks are going to fly. Welcome to Game On. I'm Graham Young. This is Ross Pilcher. What can go wrong when you the two big cities in Scotland debating? In the format, anyway, it's a rapid fire questions. None of the big subjects will be. We're not going to miss them out. We're going to meet them head on. And there's a lot to talk about, isn't there? You glad to make your debut?
I am, yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
So that's it. It's a 2-minute format. All the big questions, Scottish sport. I think you're starting to get the hang of it, and I know all those lovely comments on YouTube are enjoying it, so there's no reason not to get underway. And we'll start straight away with Rangers. I say it's a busy week and a busy season, but it feels like it's a busy week and a big busy season all the time for Rangers. In the early weeks, Russell Martin actually said in his introductory, just after he took the job, that he'd want 1 or 2 in for Panathinaikos. Now that's a lot more now. They're up at 6, and it could be more. Are the level of signings which Rangers are making, are they enough to dethrone Celtic? That's the ultimate goal. Are these players good enough to take down Celtic this season?
It's hard to make that argument just now. There's a big focus on the English Championship. It feels a bit similar to what they've done before. I suppose the question is are these players in the style that Russell Martin going to be good enough, wants to play, going to be good enough to dethrone Celtic? That's maybe a slightly different question. But so far, not sure they're of the profile or the level that you can confidently say they are going to dethrone Celtic. Can they challenge playing a different style? Maybe, but so far in the evidence, I'd be doubtful that this is a title-winning squad so far.
An interesting thing for me, I think, with Rangers, and it's like a eureka moment as you see it happening in real time, is that it's so obvious now that Russell Martin's such a fit for this job. If you look at Kevin Thelwell, Dan Purdy, the people that have been brought in at Rangers, Steinson, they've got a profile in English football that top of the championship or championship level into Premier League. David Ancelotti, who's another front runner, maybe wouldn't have been as a fit for these players. Russell Martin, MK Dons, Swansea, then at Southampton. He's got in a real in these academies and a style of play that a lot of these players want to play. The one thing I remember with Ange Postecoglou's first summer, and you can't always draw parallels because it's two attacking styles of football, but it really is. It's amazing how good signings can trigger something quickly, isn't it? And it feels that there's going to be, with the fixtures on the horizon with Rangers, that it's obviously not going to be all plain sailing, but I think Rangers fans are looking for what happened early on in the Ange era, where I think it was Dundee in the second league game where pasted 6-0 and Kyogo starred, and you could see there was already a way of playing. I think Rangers are just looking for that early on, but I don't think it's a big argument to make to be able to turn those early moments into a title win, because I think the Ange Postecoglou first season at Celtic was something special, but Russell Martin instantly, the fans seem to like what they're seeing. Training ground, he's got a really nice way about him. What is success in? Is it a trophy in the first year? Is it Champions League football? That's the biggest ask probably, or is it even succeeding in Europe with a new style of play? I know there's a worry there. Do you think that could be?
It's probably a mix of those things. They're going to expect a trophy after going trophies last season. I think the League Cup or the Scottish Cup, he'll be expected to at least get to the final, and it's about time they won one. I think a proper league challenge is successful, not 20 odd points behind. That's happened too often. They need to get closer. They don't necessarily have to win it. I think if he goes close and puts up a good fight with Brendan Rodgers, he buys himself more time for next year. Again, that's easier said than done. As for the Champions League, it's depending on the draw, isn't it? I mean, going through these qualifiers, Celtic have got a qualifier as well, so that I don't think that's something you can kind of lay down as an early marker from. But definitely, he has to put up a proper title fight.
So going across the city to Celtic, the last competitive game was obviously Aberdeen Scottish Cup final, and obviously it's never ideal to lose, but there's definitely, in terms of a game too, I think it's been a time of self-reflection, but Celtic fans and all fans are always looking for more. There's maybe a feeling among fans that in terms of after a summer spending 20 million combined on Adam Idah and Arne Engels, is there a return maybe to the more 2, 3, 4 million style signings? Do you think that's happening, or do you think they're teeing themselves up? And if it is, do you think it's the right way to go, or do you think they should keep pushing to add this kind of marquee signings, or does it change the wage structure too much? Where are Celtic in terms of recruitment? Do you like what you've been able to see this summer?
So far, I think we've seen this before from Celtic. They've been kind of slow to get started. Maybe guys who come in that aren't maybe automatically starters, then towards the end of the window, they ramp it up. We saw it last year with Arne Engels breaking a club record. We saw it with Adamida, okay, he's maybe not worked out, but it wouldn't surprise me if Celtic are, I don't know if it's keeping their powder dry, it's maybe these more expensive deals do take a bit longer. You have to make sure you're getting the right guy, but and especially, Brendan Rodgers, he'll let the board know if he's not happy. He's done it before. Not so coded messages, and his big thing is progress in Europe. They did it last year. He want to build on that again. If they're getting close to the end of the window and there's not the backing he's expected, he'll let them know about it. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happened.
And in defence of Celtic, I think a lot of people have noted that Benjamin Nygren appears by all accounts a bargain. He's not played a minute for Celtic yet, but everyone that's watched him, even the early training sessions, the word is, folks, he is very good. And Kieran Tierney, one of the club's best players in recent memory, back in a free transfer, seems sage business. But there is that feeling, isn't there, where I think it's been Celtic one thing, and I'm sure every club's like this, but when they're in for a player, it seems they're in for multiple players in the same position.
Exactly, yeah.
And then if one of them doesn't come off, you almost get expectations up high. I think with Isaac Janssen this week, £3 million punt doesn't, but when he goes for $9 million, it's almost like it's amazing how the narrative can change quickly. What do you think as well? Do you know there's now Shin Yamada's another striker coming in. He, obviously not a lot of money, but the season before last he scored plenty of goals. Do you feel this? Do you think there will be this marquee striker, or do you think it is also a marquee front free player that allows Maeda to stay kind of? How do you think if they do spend big, will it be an out and out number 9, or will it be someone with a bit more flexibility in the final third?
I think it might be somebody with a bit more flexibility. The money they've spent on Ida, I think they're going to want to give him a chance to get it right. And you saw in his loan spell, he showed what he's capable of. He didn't do it last season. If he starts in a similar vein this season, you might be thinking, is it time to move on and try and get somebody else in? That's not necessarily number 9. Listen, if one becomes available that Brendan Rodgers wants and Celtic can afford, I think they'll do it. It's maybe not a priority, but with Kuhn going, they're going to have money to spend. I think it might be somebody that can, as you said, fill more positions and maybe take the burden off Maeda a bit.
Yeah. So, out the new arrivals this season, Scottish football, there's we know better than anyone the way it works. There's this first wave of transfers, teams that have got the long-term targets to come in, and then we know there'll be more frivolity before the window closes. Who do you think will be turning out to be the best side in Scottish football this season?
I think Kieran Tierney is the one that jumps out. Nothing wrong with Greg Taylor, he's just an upgrade. If Celtic can keep him fit consistently, he can play left back, left wing back, left centre back. He should just fit in seamlessly, and as I said, he's just at that level above Greg Taylor. You mentioned Benjamin Nygren earlier. Looks like he could be a bargain. Lower fee doesn't necessarily mean lower quality. I think that's more to do with his contract situation. Viljami Sinisal was in the Daily Record today talking about how much of a big thing he was. As a teenager, played against him several times, and he's one Celtic fans are going to be impressed. He could be a good one, and I think Stuart Finley's a really solid one for Hearts. Interestingly, Derek McInnes was talking at a fan event this week saying he didn't necessarily score very high from Jamestown, but he met the threshold, and it just made sense.
That's fascinating, isn't it? It's how it works.
Because apparently McInnes said if they don't meet the threshold, there's no point in him even asking. Hearts just won't go and sign them. Finley apparently just made it, but he knows his character, he knows what he's like about the place. Kind of things you can't, there's no real metric to measure, so I think that was an interesting combination of using analytics, but also, managers know how.
I'm going to plant my flag in the Granite City. I can't actually choose an Aberdeen. I like it all. I just like everything about them. The mood music's great. I was at Ibrox just before the Scottish Cup final. Aberdeen were terrible, and I thought they were so passive that I was worried sick long term. And then they go and tactically outthink Celtic in the cup final. And just everything about Jimmy Clean now, it just turns on. At times I thought maybe the players weren't always buying it, but it seems there's a real play the patient game, and these moments will come. But it's going maybe to take one. I'll head to Gorgie as well. Claudio Braga looks a really talented player, and I keep hearing about this unbelievable movement. And when you watch the highlights, I think he could. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't start every week, but I just feel he could be the impact sub out all these signings. And Hearts, I don't know, it seems to get a really strong squad, and I think it's actually really exciting what's going on there. And I know everything's Jamestown analytics as well, but there's also some good work at Hearts for a while. I think there's a nice balance, and when they're good, it just seems the perfect fit. As you said, Stuart Finley, Derek McInnes, people itching to prove a point, and these players as well. And what was the one, the boy that's come for Estonia? What did he know? He couldn't believe that Hearts found him.
Kabori, yeah, I think it's Kabori. I don't know how they found me.
Oh, that's.
I don't know if
that
bodes
good.
The computer says I'm good.
The computer says yes. So so that says we'll head away from transfers now, and I think this is probably one of the biggest questions in Scottish football this summer. Brendan Rodgers, 3-year contract. He guaranteed when he returned 2 years ago that he would see out the 3 years. Now, anybody in the last year of contract, you would like to know what the answer would be beyond, right? So what do you think? Do you think Brendan Rodgers will sign a new deal, and is he duty bound to tell the public, the Celtic public, if he has got to stay or not before the season starts?
I don't think he's duty bound. He might not know himself. I'd be surprised if it happens soon. I think it might depend not only how the transfer window goes and not only how Celtic are doing, but it might depend on what Rangers we see. If he gets a proper title challenge that that gets his juices flowing, that motivates. I think, right, I fancy.
Do you think
there's
there's more chance if Celtic are good? Because I don't think he's going to take his first season. I think Celtic won the title because of Brendan Rodgers in his second spell. But would you feel that almost if Rangers are as good as hopefully advertised for their point of view, that would make him stay longer? Do you think?
I think it might. I know the fans want to see them scooch the league by 20, 30 points, and it's that's kind of been the way of it. I think the issue is you can get bored. You can. Oh, this is a bit samey. I fancy a new challenge. I mean, he was quick enough to go down to Leicester last time. I think if he's backed properly in the transfer window and he's given the tools to try and build on European success, and if he's got a proper fight for not just the league but the trophies on his hand, that might appeal to him and say, yeah, I fancy a bit more of this. If not, and it's another treble, I could see him maybe moving on in the summer.
I think there's some elements of Scottish football that is cliche when you would say, oh, if this happened, but I genuinely believe a few poor performances, and it's just the elephant in the room. Is he going to sign a new deal? What's his plan? Oh, the way Brendan answered that question. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Everything for someone who's a specialist, probably the best we've ever had at using words wisely. I think it's not. It's just too much. I think a straight answer either way. I think he's got so much power and gravitas at Celtic that he could even say this is my last season, and it wouldn't affect almost that way. Like, I think he'd have enough power to control that narrative as well. But I think it's a question that needs that. Just personally, I believe that's the way it is. I think a lot of people that follow Celtic would probably feel similar. But it's fascinating as well, and it's probably a different challenge as well in terms of Rangers, where I think he'll quite like Russell Martin. I've got to be honest. I think he'll quite like what he's coming up against tactically. Just the style of play. Both had been at Swansea, both earned a claim at Swansea. I think you'd maybe ask fans down there might be the two best managers we've had of that era. So it's an interesting time, and Russell Martin as well. So it's a really busy time. We talked, can they dethrone Celtic, but in the here and now, right, from playing Bruges in a friendly, and I know there's games behind closed doors. The next time the public will see Rangers is against Panathinaikos at Ibrox. Absolute monumental game. The first of 3 rounds of Champions League qualifiers. Are Rangers good enough, or do you think they're ready for a team like Panathinaikos? I think Greek football's not what it once was.
No.
But I think they're a test. They'll show the level of Rangers. Are they ready for this in any form?
It's hard to say. I think the lack of games, I know you're talking about closed door games, but interesting comparison. When you look at the other teams, European qualifiers, Hibs, Dundee United, they've both got 5 games in before they go into their first legs. Rangers have had 1 at Ibrox, maybe a couple this week. They still seem a little bit undercooked to me, especially if you've got a new manager who's dead set on a certain style, which is so different from what they're used to. It's not give them a lot of opportunity to get up to speed.
I think that's a good point. I think you can tell that everything about Russell Martin seems 100 miles per hour, but you can't replicate games, can you? Really?
No.
And I know closed door, but there is something different. There's 20,000, 30,000 in the stadium. I think players even react to that as well. The one I think with Rangers as well that wouldn't shock me is if they come out like a runaway train against Panathinaikos. They're really quick style on the front foot, but I think there'll be a fitness issue over the 2 legs where one of those legs that might be up 2 goals early, but 1 goal for the visitors could maybe change the momentum as well. But I think this next couple of weeks is vital for Rangers, just in terms of it's such a bold way of playing. I think we know that's coming. It's obvious, seems for watching the Bruges game. You can see they're going to take chat. It didn't look like the Rangers teams that you were used to. A dose of pragmatism that was kind of underlined all their success in Europe as well. So I think Rangers fans, even in terms of, I just think it's going to be a wild night out of the box. Do you remember the Malmo game straight out of COVID? Actually on the pitch was, but the atmosphere, I think we're going to get something pretty similar to that as well. And there might be again from here. Might need to keep editing as the week goes on. Maybe another couple of signings coming in as well. But I know it seems like a really signature game early on. But I think the one thing with Russell Martin, and I know it's always when there seems to be a real understanding that this might be some nerve-shredding moments along the way. But if he can keep it going, if he can get Champions League in his first go, then
that'd be
He's doing
massive.
something. He's doing something right. But I know we'll watch with interest with that one. I think that could be a game to watch. There we are, time as well. We're a wee bit early there, but so we go next to the mood music around Hearts, which you've touched upon with Derek McInnes. He seems to be not a new man. I think he enjoyed his time at Kilmarnock, but I felt last season was tough at Kilmarnock. But he's got a lot of. I know it's an exciting project, and I think he's ready for this challenge, isn't he? The mood music is overwhelmingly positive around Hearts. I know you're a happy-go-lucky guy yourself, but come on, if everything's so good, they can access to the best players in their bracket. Shanklin's back, everything's good. Come on, tell me the truth, Pouch. What could go wrong?
Plenty could go wrong. This is Hearts we're talking about. The only is there anything to worry about? The fact it is so overwhelmingly positive, the cynic in me suggests something's got to go wrong at some point. I think expectations will be high. I think Derek McInnes expects that as well. I think the worry is that if it is a slower start to the season, you saw what happened last time. I think what's different is he's got the experience and know how to kind of navigate that. They've got a big squad. They need to get players out the door. We were out speaking to him at Oriam on Wednesday, and he thinks that will start happening naturally. Once he starts picking squads and guys can see, I'm not going to get much game time here, the numbers will come down.
Give us a name who is regarded as a first team player who potentially could be on the fringes. Is there anyone that you stands out that you think he normally plays but he might not now?
I don't know about normally plays, given that he's big on. He's got another two wingers coming in hopefully before the weekend starting next week. Alan Forrest might find himself on the edges. He's kind of come in and out. He's done well at some times. Other times he's looked a bit limited, but I think his game time's going to be reduced if they've brought in 2 or 3 wide players. I think he could be struggling, and he might be one that might think, listen, I need to go away and play regularly. Aside from that, I would have said left back before James Penrice is gone, but Harry Milne was kind of signed in January, I think, with the view longer term that he'd take over. Stephen Kingsley can cover there, so I think they're okay there. They're looking pretty strong. There'll be a few young guys go out on loan, but aside for that, I think he's just about at the numbers he wants. If he can get another maybe a couple out the door, he should be looking good.
And that's it as well. Actually, I feel, but I can't answer, but I'm overwhelmingly positive about Hart. It feels as well, just it's incredible, isn't it? Where it just feels the right manager at the right time. Shanklin with a point to prove, playing the right position. I actually didn't mind. You know, it's easy to beat Neil Critchley with that stick.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed that kind of Harry Kane-esque role where he plays the 10. Because he is good at that as well. At times, he was a couple of European games excellent in that role.
I think that's why Braga's been brought in.
Yeah.
McKinnon said he wants Shanklin to be the guy closest to the goals. Braga can drop off deep and help out in that way. So that Lawrence Shanklin's just concentrating on doing what he does best.
That's what it's all about as well. So we've got an exciting season all across the league, but Hearts it seems especially so. Now we're switching sports. We're putting down the football for a minute and picking up the clubs. Scottish Open this week, some great entertainment. We're heading over to Northern Ireland for Portrush for the Open. It feels like Rory McIlroy in his homeland is a real contender. Of course he's a contender, but in the year he's ended his major drought. But let's move away from Scottish Effler, Rory McIlroy, Bryson. Let's look for some value. 100 to 1. And that's a great thing with the Open as well, by the way. Nearly every player after the first 10, they just jumps in price. Is there anyone right now, if anyone's watching likes golf, just even a wee pound bet, you would go, there's a wee chance I think they might do really well.
Yeah, I suppose, speaking as somebody who worked in a bookmakers
a
couple of lifetimes ago, there's a reason these guys are 100 to 1.
Okay.
They don't often get it wrong, but as you said, 100 to 1 each way. You know, I took plenty of big golf bets on guys that got good returns on. You're looking at the outsiders. Cam Smith sent 100 to 1.
There you go.
Caught my eye. Could be worth a wee, even a wee 50p each way. If you
guys are good. I think guys with open track records normally can come back and do it. That's a good shout. I wouldn't have guessed you would have been anywhere near 100 to 1.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was having a wee look. So Keegan Bradley was high as 125.
Exactly. And Keegan Bradley, obviously Ryder Cup captain, but he's very much still a top player. He won recently, beat Tommy Fleetwood to a tournament. I'm going to go with my favourite player right now, who 2 gloves. Aaron Wright, there's nothing better, is there? Turned pro really young, a bit too early for him, but he's really found his game. One of the more consistent players in the tour. And just again, I need to say he wears 2 gloves. Like there's something. That's a bold statement you're making.
What's the
there.
goalie doing?
Exactly. He can do it all. He can save penalties and shoot a 62 if he needs to. But he's an English player. Form his life. He's a really good couple of years, and to me, he's got to be in the mix. I think he's got to have at least 2 really strong rounds, and then it's on these guys off that to make sure they don't have really bad rounds. But it's a cracking venue as well. I know Scotland's home of golf, but Northern Ireland is a great backup as well. There's no doubt about that. I think those 2 venues whisper. I don't think we need to go to the North England, really, to be honest with you. I think that's the weakest part of the venues on the open rotation. I think the best part's Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I visited Portrush a couple of summers ago. It was nice up there.
Beautiful, exactly. And I think with this, there is every chance one of the favourites can come storming through, but there is value, and Aaron Rye and Cam Smith are 2 very good options. But again, it could be anyone. Someone that shoots a 65 in the first day, suddenly they're in the mix, and it's a crazy thing, golf, isn't it? A guy can shoot a great round and somehow they just play well for 4 days, 3 days after. It's like, it's just they can hold on. So again, we're heading to another sport, and one both is cared deeply about, and it's boxing. And the biggest female boxing star on the planet, Katy Taylor, takes on an eternal rival, Amanda Serrano, and this is really interesting. It's a trilogy it's been billed as, but Katy Taylor's won the first 2 fights, which, in fairness, they were both very competitive fights. If you'd ever heard the American broadcast, Katy was barely landed a punch, but somehow won both fights. There's the truth somewhere in the middle. I think I felt the second fight was a draw. Katy Taylor, I thought, edged the first. It's 10 rounds, 2-minute rounds, so it's really fast paced. Will she win for a third time against Amanda Serrano?
I don't think so. I think Serrano just edges it. I think once you've had 2 goes at it, she seems to be getting closer and closer. She might be the more motivated fighter. She's had a chance to tweak her game plan. She can see what didn't quite work first. I think again it could be close. It might come down to the judges, but I just fancy Serrano for this one.
Yeah, that's true. And all the great, I was going to say Pacquiao, Marquez, but they ended up fighting 4 times. Barrera, Morales, like there's something about these wee nuances in the fight that kind of take it to a different level. Amanda Serrano's brilliant, and the great thing as well, what I really like about this, and you know how boxing always get a bad name for too much like bad blood, but the 2 of them can barely keep a straight face at the weigh-ins, but they obviously get a lot of respect for each other. Jake Paul gets a really bad name, but I've got to give him credit, genuinely. I'm serious. We're not sponsored by an unnamed drink here. Is that he's been very pro women's boxing. I think he gives its place, and it's been excellent. It's really high standard. This is just elite sport, male or female, and I think if you watch on, it's quite an easy way to watch as well. I think so it wouldn't be hard for viewers to tune in, and I think they'll be rewarded with a cracking fight. I actually picked Katy Taylor to lose the first Chantel Cameron, but I thought style-wise, and then she came back and was too good for them in the second fight. I don't think you could ever rule her out. She's an unbelievable, she's one of the most elite sports people of the last 10, 15, 20 years. But also I think Serrano won it by a round. But she'd be an absolute cracker. Madison Square Garden, sell-out crowd, and just probably as good as any sport that's on this month. It's got to be an elite level fight between 2 elite level fighters. And then it's just, I think women's sport in general, like I think you see the women's Euros, there's some excellent games, some really world-class fights, and other sports, it really is, there's a legitimacy now to women's sport, and this is the kind of best of it.
Especially they're breaking the transfer record this week.
There, exactly. And I was like, Canada under 20 international, Liverpool at Arsenal. No, like it shows you that's. I totally agree with you. Honestly, I think it's been excellent. I always felt the last Euros was a game where Spain, who obviously ended up beating England in the World Cup that followed, that was one of the best games of sport I watched. Just tactically how England soaked it up, and Spain unfortunately denied. But I know it should be a good weekend for it. And to finish on a happy note, this initially was going to be a question, what's your biggest bugbear? But our lovely producer Molly, she turned into a question of happiness here and joy, and it is about the alcohol ban in Scotland. It's semi-lifting, where it's going to be, you'll be able to have a wee drink at Premier Sports games in the home end. Is this a good thing?
I think so, yeah. I think it's time fans were showing a wee bit of trust.
100%.
I mean, you can kind of give it, I'm not saying you go and get tanked up for 90 minutes, but that's the age-old argument they can do at the rugby. Why? Because it's a different sport, or the rules different. It could be a good extra revenue streams for clubs that need it, especially at that level. So yeah, why not see how it goes? And I think fans can be trusted these days. We can't apply the same standards to everything as 40 odd years ago. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Everything Scottish football that's debated, I don't feel strongly. It's just you treat people with decency, and I always remember that argument. You're like, teenagers on the continent, they get a glass of wine, they get treated. But it is
Here
true.
it's tonic wine.
You exactly. It's a different setup. But if you embolden people and you give them a chance, I think you'd be surprised at the results. And that kind of scaremongering fear. And it's always attached to the ultras. Most of these young guys are brilliant. Like, honestly, these guys at games, and listen, they're teenagers going to try and make the game better. You can't make that to the many fans that are 10, 15 years removed from drinking age that go to games. It would honestly, there's a happy medium here. You can get all the colour, all the stuff, and then also enjoy sensible drinking, because it happens at other events. I think it could be. The worry is it is a test case, and it's a test case to prove it's not to be it's not to be done. But I think it's time that just in general, just in like Scottish football in general, I think we're ready for a change. And
especially start the season, the weather's good. It's League Cup games. It's
Scotland. It's beautiful.
It's not kind of high category games that the police are going to be worried about. You go in, nice wee pint, take your seat in the sunshine, watch the game.
Quite enjoyed that. You know, that's what people do.
Exactly.
No, exactly. But as you say, I think that is maybe the worry as well. Like, how can you ever go when they are trialling it? But it feels very much that it will be a trial basis. That we still feel so far removed from.
Yeah. And I think
games.
there will be some onlookers that are just looking for an excuse to say, "No, you had your chance. It's not happening. Move on."
So on that note, that's we'll raise a toast to another game on in the book. That was top notch. Do you think? How did you find your debut there? Did you enjoy it?
That was enjoyable. Well worth the slog along the M8 in the sunshine.
I'll tell you what, these East Coasters, they ain't half bad. Honestly, you can come back again. That was well worth it. So thank you very much for listening this week, or watching this week's episode of Game On. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you like what you hear, why not leave us a review or a comment as well? So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Graham Young. This is Ross Pilcher. Have a brilliant day, and we'll be back next week. Take care.
Thank you.